Have you ever had that feeling like your money just isn't going as far as it used to? You work hard, you save, but it feels like you're, I don't know, running on a treadmill just to stay put.
Yeah, it's a really common feeling
Yeah,
and frustrating.
totally. And maybe it comes down to, well, maybe we don't fully grasp what money really is. So today we're doing a deep dive into the Bitcoin age. It's a way of looking at money that really pushes back against the credit system we all kind of grew up with.
Exactly. And our guide for this is Nik Bhatia's book, The Bitcoin Age. It makes some really sharp points,
It really does.
like this paradox, right? Technology makes things more efficient, better quality, often cheaper.
Right, like TVs or computers.
Exactly. But somehow the overall cost of living just keeps climbing for most people. Why is that? And, well, this deep dive, we're going to explore that. There seems to be something baked into the traditional system that fights against prices naturally falling.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The book uses this great analogy from Star Wars. You remember the Phantom Menace?
Vaguely, yeah.
Okay, so the Jedi needs a part for his ship, this hyperdrive generator. He finds a mechanic, offers him 20,000 Republic credits.
Ah, I think I remember this bit.
Yeah, and the mechanic just laughs, right? Republic credits! Republic credits are no good out here. I need something more real.
Even the Jedi mind trick doesn't work.
Ah, mind tricks won't work on me. Only money. That's brilliant.
It is, and it perfectly illustrates this difference, doesn't it?
It really does. Because money, fundamentally, is just whatever people accept as payment. That's it.
Okay.
But currency is what circulates, often because, a government says this is legal tender. That mechanic, he didn't believe in the Jedi's currency. He didn't see it as real money.
Belief, that's the key word.
It's everything. Which brings us right to the system we mostly use today, credit.
Right, the book says the word credit comes from Latin, credere, meaning to believe. We use it because we believe it's money.
But there are problems, big ones.
Yeah, the book highlights two main issues. First is credit money. It doesn't hold value over time. It's kind of temporary money. It leaks value.
And second, the way it's created and handed out, it's uneven. It disadvantages most people. It can really feel like the system's rigged. And you can see that imbalance clear as day. Just look at incomes versus housing. The book gives these numbers. 1971, median U.S. income, maybe $9,000. Median home, $25,000.
Okay, so about 2.5 years income for a house.
Right. Now jump to today, or recent figures.
Yeah.
Average earner, maybe $80,000. That same median house, $420,000.
Wow. That's over 5 years income, more than double the time.
Exactly. So you have to ask why. Why is the cost of living racing ahead of wages like that? The book argues it's because the power to create credit, to basically make money appear, is concentrated. A few create it, billions just use it, and their purchasing power slowly erodes.
Okay, but then there's the counterpoint, Bitcoin. The book calls it a marvelous solution.
Yeah, it really flips the script.
For people holding Bitcoin, the book shows prices have actually gone down, relatively speaking. Like that median U.S. home in 2016 cost over 500 Bitcoin.
But by 2025, even with house prices doubling in dollar terms, that same home costs less than 5 Bitcoin.
That's a staggering difference.
Isn't it? It shows Bitcoin's potential for, permanence. It's designed specifically to fight that currency debasement and the concentration of power we were just talking about.
So stepping back a bit, how does this traditional credit system actually work? Where does the inflation, the rising prices, come from?
Good question.
Well, the fundamental mechanism is that banks create new deposits, literally from thin air,
Yeah.
every time they issue a loan.
Wait, so it's not like they're lending out money someone else deposited?
Not primarily, no.
Yeah.
They create a new loan asset and a corresponding new deposit liability on their books. It's genuinely new credit, new money entering the system. And that continuous creation is the main engine driving prices up over time. That's the price inflation we all feel.
Okay, wow. And that leads to this cycle, right? The book talks about the credit cycle.
Exactly. It starts with confidence. Borrowers and lenders feel good. They make deals. New credit flows. Demand goes up. Prices go up.
But that can't last forever.
Nope. Human nature kicks in. Confidence turns to fear. Maybe prices got too high, debts become too much, people stop spending, defaults start.
And that's where it gets tricky for the banks.
Very tricky. Because falling prices mean falling incomes, which makes it harder to repay debt. Falling prices also make people want to save, not spend, which slows things down even more. More defaults, banks start failing.
So the banks actually need prices to keep rising. Or at least not fall.
To stay healthy and profitable within that system, yes, they rely on credit expanding, and gently rising prices help keep the whole lending machine running smoothly. It's this constant, subtle pressure that erodes your savings, that treadmill feeling you mentioned.
How did we get locked into this?
Well, the book has this great chapter on what it called the duck hunt.
The duck hunt.
Yeah, it refers to this super secret meeting back in 1907 on Jekyll Island,
Okay.
orchestrated by big names like Henry Davison from J.P. Morgan, Senator Aldrich, folks from Citibank. So the big financial players of the day.
And what were they doing, apart from maybe hunting ducks?
Well, their real hunt was for a way to create a central bank, what eventually became the Federal Reserve. They wanted a lender of last resort, a backstop, to protect the private banking system from those nasty cycles and failures.
And they kept it secret.
Absolutely paramount. One of them even wrote later, "Discovery, we knew, simply must not happen, or else all our time and effort would be wasted." They knew it would be controversial.
Wow. Okay, so the Fed was step one. What else locked in this credit system?
Two other big moves. First, 1933, President Roosevelt banned private gold ownership for Americans.
Right, I've heard about that.
That basically forced everyone into using bank deposits. It cut that direct link people had between money and, actual physical treasure.
And the second thing?
Deposit insurance, the FDIC,
Yeah.
came about after the Great Depression when something like 9,000 banks failed between 29 and 33.
9,000.
Yeah. So the FDIC guaranteed deposits. Suddenly, you didn't really need to worry if your bank was being responsible or not. The government backed it. That massively increased trust in bank credits.
Okay, that makes sense. Less risk for the depositor.
Exactly. And all this paved the way for something called the global banking dollar, or Eurodollars.
Eurodollars, like dollars in Europe?
Sort of, but not just Europe. It started partly because of a U.S. rule, Regulation Q, that capped interest rates banks could pay on deposits. So dollars started flowing overseas where they could earn more.
Ah, okay.
London bankers especially saw an opportunity. They started issuing dollar-denominated liabilities, basically. Dollar promises outside of direct U.S. regulation.
So dollars created outside the U.S. system?
Precisely. A Eurodollar is essentially a dollar promise from a non-U.S. bank to another non-U.S. entity. Crucially, these banks didn't need reserves at the Fed. This created this huge, parallel, mostly unregulated pool of dollar credit that influenced global prices and trade, kind of beyond the Fed's direct control.
That's fascinating, all this abstract credit floating around. You need ways to move fast, right?
Yeah.
Which brings us to the digital age.
Exactly. The communication infrastructure was key. It started way back, optical relays, then the electric telegraph. Western Union money orders, that was huge. Sending credit instantly across distances.
Right. And then teleprinters.
Yes. Telex machines became the standard for bank wires. Suddenly, hundreds, thousands of banks could settle transactions electronically, globally. It massively amplified the speed and scale of monetary expansion.
And this led towards the internet.
Towards the ideas behind it. You had visionaries like J.C.R. Licklider talking about an intergalactic computer network.
Love that name.
Right. And then Paul Barron at RAND, think about the Cold War, he came up with distributed networks, packet switching.
Packet switching.
Yeah, the idea of breaking messages into tiny pieces, sending them over multiple paths, and reassembling them at the destination. His insight was, if you attack one part of a centralized network, you break it. But a distributed network, much harder to kill.
So breaking things down made the network stronger, resilient.
Totally. No single point of failure. You can see how that thinking is crucial for something like Bitcoin later on.
But getting this open communication wasn't easy, was it? The book talks about a crypto war.
Oh, yeah. The U.S. government, especially the NSA, they had a stranglehold on serious cryptography research. They treated it like weapons-grade tech.
Classified it as a munition.
Exactly. They wanted it kept behind their secure triple fence, not out in the public domain.
But people pushed back.
Big time. Academics, activists. This group called the cypherpunks. They were inspired by books like David Kahn's The Code Breakers, which kind of spilled the secrets.
Okay.
Guys like Whitfield Diffie, Marty Hellman, Ralph Merkle. They deliberately published groundbreaking work on public key cryptography, stuff the NSA wanted kept secret. They were firing shots directly at the NSA, challenging that monopoly.
And this led to legal battles.
Crucial ones. The fight for code as speech. People like Daniel Bernstein won cases arguing that computer code is protected by the First Amendment. Phil Zimmermann released PGP encryption for free.
PGP, yeah, I remember that. Pretty good privacy.
Right. These victories were absolutely vital. They established that creating and sharing cryptographic code wasn't illegal, which was essential for something like Bitcoin to even be possible later on.
Okay, so we have the problems with credit money, the evolution of digital communication, the fight for cryptography. It feels like pieces coming together.
Exactly. The book lays out these, like, 7 key ingredients that made Bitcoin possible.
All right, let's break them down. What's ingredient number one?
Sophisticated cryptography, specifically hash functions. Think of them like digital blenders that scramble data into a fixed-size fingerprint. It's practically impossible to reverse engineer the original data from the hash.
Like SHA-256 in Bitcoin.
Precisely. Ingredient 2, timestamps. A way to link those hashes together sequentially, proving the order things happened, like a tamper-proof digital ledger.
Makes sense. What's next?
3, the cypherpunks themselves. Not just the tech, but the ideology. This deep desire to use cryptography to separate money from state control, to build privacy and freedom.
The philosophical drive.
Definitely. Ingredient 4, the U.S. Constitution, or rather, those legal wins we just talked about. Code is speech. That protected Bitcoin's development.
Okay. Number 5.
Proof of work. This came from Adam Back's Hashcash idea, originally designed to fight email spam. The concept was, make sending an email require a tiny bit of computational work. Not much for one email, but too expensive for a spammer sending millions.
Ah, so making bad behavior costly.
Exactly. Bitcoin adapted that idea on a massive scale for securing the network. 6, distributed timestamping. Nick Szabo's BitGold concept combined proof of work with a distributed way to timestamp things, getting closer to Bitcoin, though it was never fully implemented.
So all these ingredients were there, kind of waiting.
Waiting for the chef. Ingredient number 7, Satoshi Nakamoto, the anonymous creator or creators.
The magic ingredient.
You could say that. Satoshi's anonymity, like the Founding Fathers using Publius for the Federalist Papers, put the focus squarely on the idea, not the person.
And the timing was key too, right? The 2008 crisis.
Absolutely. Satoshi's motivation seems clearly tied to the frustration with bank bailouts and perpetual money printing. That famous message embedded in the very first Bitcoin block.
Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks.
Right there, a statement of intent. Satoshi brilliantly combined these existing ingredients to solve problems people had struggled with for ages.
Like the double spend problem. How do you stop someone spending the same digital coin twice without a central bank watching?
Yeah, and the related Byzantine generals problem. How do you get a network of distrusting computers to agree on the truth? Satoshi's solution was this peer-to-peer network where everyone validates everything, networking the truth, as the book puts it. No need for a bank or a payment processor in the middle.
A total paradigm shift. Okay, so we know the ingredients and the motivation. How does the Bitcoin network actually operate? What are the rules of the game?
Right, there are about 7 core rules or principles that govern how it all works. First up is public key cryptography for ownership.
We touched on this. Private keys, public keys.
Exactly. Your private key is your secret password, a very long number you keep safe. It lets you sign or authorize transactions. From that, you get a public key and addresses like an email address you share to receive Bitcoin.
And the key is self-custody. You hold the keys, you hold the Bitcoin. Made easier now with those 12-word seed phrases, right?
Much easier. Rule 2, running a node. A node is just a computer running the Bitcoin software connected to the network.
Anyone can run one.
Pretty much. By running a node, you download and verify the entire history of transactions, the blockchain. You're essentially validating your own money, not trusting anyone else. It's decentralization in action.
Okay, rule 3.
Generating blocks. This is the mining process.
Mm-hmm.
Miners gather recent transactions into a block. They compete to solve a cryptographic puzzle tied to that block.
And the winner adds the block to the chain.
Adds the block and gets rewarded with newly created Bitcoin and transaction fees. That's the incentive. Rule 4 is the proof of work difficulty itself.
The puzzle they're solving.
Right. They're trying to find a hash output for their block that starts with a certain number of zeros. Its pure computational brute force requires immense work, meaning energy and processing power. That's what secures the ledger.
And that difficulty changes. That's rule 5.
Rule 5, difficulty adjustment. This is maybe the most ingenious part. Every 2016 blocks, roughly 2 weeks, the network automatically adjusts how hard that puzzle is.
Why?
To keep block generation time steady, averaging about 10 minutes per block. If more miners join and computing power increases, the difficulty goes up. If miners leave, it goes down.
So it self-regulates to maintain that 10-minute rhythm.
Perfectly. It ensures a predictable supply issuance, regardless of network activity. Rule 6 is open access. Anyone can join or leave the network anytime. Run a node, stop running a node, Critically, you can create your keys and sign transactions completely offline, enhancing security. The barrier to entry is incredibly low.
And the final rule.
The big one. Rule 7. 21,000. The absolute fixed supply limit. No more Bitcoin will ever be created beyond that number.
That's baked into the code.
Baked in. Compare that mathematical precision to the dollar, where the supply expands at an, frankly, unknowable rate. Bitcoin also has the halvings every 4 years or so.
Where the reward for miners gets cut in half.
Exactly. Started at 50 BTC per block, then 25, 12.5, 6.25. Now it's 3.125. This program scarcity, this digital gold aspect, is fundamental to its value proposition.
You mentioned earlier how this difficulty adjustment is unique. It breaks normal economics.
In a way, yes. It eliminates what economists call supply elasticity. Think about strawberries. If the price goes up, farmers plant more strawberries, supply increases, and the price stabilizes or falls.
Makes sense.
With Bitcoin, if demand and price go up, more miners might join, sure. But the difficulty just adjusts upwards. The rate of new Bitcoin creation doesn't increase. It stays fixed on that 10-minute schedule. So increased demand doesn't dilute the supply. It just makes the network stronger and directly supports the price.
That's a really key difference. Okay, so Bitcoin launches. How does it go from obscure cypherpunk project to, well, what it is today?
It's been a wild ride. The first real-world transaction is legendary now, right? Laszlo Hanius,
The pizza guy.
the pizza guy, 2010, paid 10,000 Bitcoin for 2 pizzas.
Which would be worth, what, now? Billions.
Easily.
Yeah.
I think the book mentions around $1 billion by 2025. Someone online at the time suggested he could have sold them for maybe $41.
Hindsight is 2020, I guess.
He just thought it'd be cool to say he bought pizza with Bitcoin, but it proved it could work as money, even in a small way.
Did it have teething problems?
Oh, sure. There was a serious bug early on, the 184 billion Bitcoin bug, where someone could create basically infinite coins. Satoshi and the core devs had to rush out a fix.
Scary. And then Satoshi vanished.
Yeah, around the time WikiLeaks started accepting Bitcoin donations, bringing a lot of unwanted government attention. Satoshi stepped back, handed over the reins to other developers, and disappeared.
Which, counterintuitively, might have helped.
Absolutely. It forced the project to become truly decentralized. No single leader, no single point of failure. It proved the network could survive and thrive on its own.
And how did the U.S. government react over time? It wasn't always friendly.
Not at all initially. But the stance evolved. The book outlines 5 really major policy moments that, step by step, legitimized Bitcoin in the U.S.
Okay, what were they?
First, 2013, FinCEN, the Financial Crimes Agency, said Bitcoin itself has no central authority, and miners aren't money service businesses needing special licenses. That was huge.
Okay, that's big.
Then 2014, the IRS classified Bitcoin as property for tax purposes, like gold or real estate. Not currency, but an asset.
Important distinction.
Very. 2015, the CFTC, the commodities regulator, declared Bitcoin a commodity. That opened the door for futures contracts, which launched on the CME later.
Letting professional traders get involved.
Right. Then the big one, recently, 2024. After Grayscale won a lawsuit, the SEC finally approved spot Bitcoin ETFs.
That felt like a watershed moment.
Totally. Suddenly, huge players like BlackRock and Fidelity could offer Bitcoin directly in regular brokerage accounts. Massive accessibility increase.
And the 5th.
2025, according to the book's timeline. The White House issues orders to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve, a digital Fort Knox, basically a full government embrace.
Wow. That's quite the journey from magic internet money to strategic reserve.
It really is. And these actions reinforce what drives demand for Bitcoin. The book highlights 3 core principles.
Sure.
1. Decentralization. Nodes in over 130 countries. It's useful everywhere from Argentina fighting inflation to Kenya and the Philippines cutting remittance costs. No central point to attack or control.
It's really global.
2. Digital property. You can hold it yourself, no custodian needed, no paperwork. It's censorship-resistant ownership in a way that's hard to achieve with, say, real estate or stocks held in brokerage account.
Real ownership.
And 3, scarcity. That fixed 21 million supply. Digital gold. As we said, demand increases price and security, not supply.
Okay, but what about the environmental concerns? Mining uses a lot of energy, right?
It does use energy, but the narrative is more complex.
Yeah.
Because miners need the absolute cheapest power possible, they're often drawn to stranded or wasted energy sources.
Like what?
Like excess hydropower in remote areas, or natural gas that's flared off at oil wells because it's uneconomical to transport. Mining can actually monetize that waste gas, capturing methane, which is much worse for the environment than CO2.
So it can actually incentivize cleaning up energy waste.
Exactly, and incentivize building out renewables where power is cheapest. It's changing energy economics, encouraging efficiency and use of stranded assets. It's not just consumption, it's optimization.
That's a perspective you don't often hear. And what about speed? Bitcoin blocks are 10 minutes apart. Not great for buying coffee.
True. That's where the Lightning Network comes in.
Yeah.
Developed around 2017. Think of it as a second layer built on top of Bitcoin.
How does it work?
It allows users to open payment channels between each other and conduct potentially thousands of transactions off-chain instantly with tiny fees. Then they just settle the final balance back to the main Bitcoin blockchain later.
So fast and cheap for small payments.
Precisely. It gives Bitcoin that medium exchange capability for everyday use, complementing its store value role, makes micropayments feasible.
Okay, so bring this all together.
Wow.
What's the big takeaway for someone listening?
I think the deep dive shows we're potentially witnessing this massive shift, moving from a world dominated by credit money that constantly loses value towards, well, having an option for digital scarcity, something truly finite and globally accessible.
It makes you rethink what real money even means. Back to that mechanic in Star Wars. Would he accept Bitcoin today?
The book definitely implies he would. It behaves much more like the real money he was looking for than those Republic credits did.
So, a final thought to leave people with.
Well, look, the dollar isn't disappearing overnight. It's still the world's reserve currency, the unit for global trade and debt. But Bitcoin presents this, maybe once in a lifetime, alternative, a parallel system based on mathematical scarcity.
And that could change things.
It could force a serious rethink of how we handle debt globally, maybe force banks to adapt. But more personally, it asks you to consider, what does it mean if there's a form of money that doesn't inevitably decay? How might that change how you save, how you plan for the future? It's a profound question to grapple with.
Definitely food for thought.
And if you want to dig deeper into some of these ideas and analyses, a good resource is bitcoinbytes.org. That's bitcoinbytes.org. They often cover topics like these.